Good evening, everybody. Hello. Happy first day of spring, everybody. My name is Casey Sword. I'm the executive director here at the Cabot. And I'm just here to welcome you all tonight to our March installment of Community Conversations. This month we're acknowledging Women's History Month. We have a great program for you. Just a couple of announcements on that. So I want to thank Leading Ladies, who are our co-producers of tonight's installment. And Leading Ladies is a nonprofit, and they're committed to equal access for all to education, healthcare, housing, food, jobs, and political representation. You can see them here at many of our community conversations, and they've been a great partner to us for many years. So give a hand to Leading Ladies for their support of our event tonight and many events that we do with them. We're also very pleased tonight to have the support of the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women for this important program, and we would shed light on the state of women's rights in our state and in the country today. The Cabot, we are very proud to host these conversations on a monthly basis. We discuss topics that are very important to our community, and over the past 2 years, we've seen them grow to become a very important part of the community and much better well attended, thanks to all of you that come and support them. Many of you come every month to these, which is wonderful. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. I also want to just draw your attention to our next community conversation, which will be on April 10th. And that one is about wellness in our community, and we partnered with the Beverly Chamber of Commerce on that. So it'll be April 10th right here at the Cabot. So in the spirit of Women's History Month, the Cabot is pleased to support 3 young women from Endicott College. We've got Bea, Maya, and Mia, who are heading up the sponsorship committee for an event called Relay for Life, which raises funds and awareness for the American Cancer Society. So they have a little station in the back there, and you can visit them after tonight's program. These phenomenal young women are already doing great things to support our community, and if you'd like to donate, they do have the donation buckets, and there's also a QR code where you can donate online. So thank you for supporting them and these events, and now we're going to get into the program. So starting us off tonight, I'd like to bring one of the founders of Leading Ladies. Please give a warm welcome to Therese Meldon.
Thank you, Casey, and thank you to the Cabot and Community Conversations for partnering with us. It's wonderful to see so many of you here this evening. I'm Therese Meldon, co-founder of Leading Ladies, and Judy Klein is my other co-founder. She's somewhere here in the audience. Leading Ladies is a nonpartisan group headquartered on the North Shore. We are committed to fighting problems that affect women and families, such as homelessness, food insecurity, unequal access to quality education and health care, voter suppression, a woman's right to choose, inhumane treatment of immigrants, and climate change. We believe that by educating others about these issues, we can motivate them to vote for candidates committed to addressing these concerns. I hope you noticed the tables in the back of the theater. These organizations, HAWK, Essex County Commission on the Status of Women, the Women's Fund, and Thrive are champions for women and deserve our attention and support. Let's give them a hand. It's Women's History Month, and our program, HERSTORY, How Far Have We Come, promises to be enlightening and inspiring. Let's begin with a short film to get us thinking.
I think it is right that I should be able to make decisions about my own body.
Women should be able to wear what they want, free from violence or harassment. Iran must end its use of violence.
So I'm hyperventilating a little bit. If I fall over, pick me up because I've got some things to say.
1 out of every 5 women will be sexually assaulted and raped before she reaches the age of 18.
And I will also never let him win. I will not take my own life. I'm going to take it back.
When I was 25, I founded and ran the national media and political campaign to make upskirting illegal.
Every single one of us has woken up today with less rights than we had yesterday as a result of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade.
For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men.
Feminism is an umbrella term for a range of views about injustices against women. Feminism seeks to achieve gender equality through organizations and changes in law. When you look more into feminism, you will find that there are various branches of the movement. All of them take different approaches to achieving equality for women, and the list goes on. These are just a few examples of the different types of feminism that exist, and there's often overlap between them. In current-day society, there are so many misconceptions about what feminism is and what the beliefs and actions of feminism are, but let's get one thing straight. Feminists are not anti-man. Feminism focuses on the issues and experiences of women because historically women have been marginalized and oppressed in many societies. Feminism aims to address and correct these imbalances of power and privilege by advocating for the rights and equality of women. This is not to say that men's issues are not important, but rather that the specific issues faced by women have not been adequately addressed in the past, and thus require a specific focus and attention. Focusing on feminism does not mean ignoring or devaluing the issues faced by men. Many feminist movements work to promote gender equality, which would benefit everyone of all genders. Although men are not the direct target of feminism, they can benefit from the movement by gaining a better understanding of the ways in which gender roles and expectations can limit them as well. Feminism mainly focused on gaining women's suffrage. Activists of this wave fought for the right for women to vote, own property, and have greater autonomy over their own bodies. In the US, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which granted women the right to vote, was in 1920. But it was not until 1965 when all Americans were given the right to vote. In Canada, women were granted the right to vote in federal elections in 1918, but it was not until 1960 when all Canadians were given the right to vote. Unfortunately, women of color, Indigenous women, working-class women, and those with disabilities faced a greater lack of rights and discrimination. Overall, the first wave of feminism helped to lay the foundation for future feminist movements. Women were continuously facing significant discrimination and inequality, and in many areas of society, they needed the permission or accompaniment of a man. Banks could refuse to issue women a credit card without her husband's signature. And in the United States, for every dollar a man made, a woman made 60.7 cents. It was completely legal to fire a woman for being pregnant. Thanks to feminism activism, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 made it illegal to discriminate against an individual on the basis of sex. And in Canada, the Canadian Human Rights Act of 1977 passed the same law. The National Organization for Women was founded in 1966. The organization focused on a wide range of issues related to women's rights and equality, including reproductive rights, legal rights, and social and cultural issues. Activists fought for and achieved greater access to birth control and the right to access safe and legal abortion. In the 1960s, it was estimated that between 200,000 and 1.2 million illegal abortions were performed annually in the United States. Abortion eventually became legalized in the 1973 Supreme Court case Roe v. Wade. And in Canada, abortion became legal in 1988. This decision gave women more control over their own bodies and reproductive choices. Feminism fought to break down barriers, including access to higher education, pursuing careers in male-dominated fields, and equal pay and benefits. But as women began to work alongside men, some women were insecure about the change and projected their internalized misogyny.
Why?
Why? Because a woman cannot do a job of a man.
Are you afraid your husband is in some sort of danger then?
Absolutely.
I think the man is the important one with jobs and the pay and that sort of thing, don't you?
Society especially loves women who naturally stay in their lane and accept their given gender roles. After all, being performative within society's expectations makes life way easier for us. Pop culture provided a platform for feminist ideas and messages to reach a wider audience by challenging traditional gender roles and stereotypes through music videos, movies, television shows, and other forms of media.
Anytime I would express anything that wasn't traditional gender roles, I would usually get in a lot of trouble. I wouldn't be able to play with the toys I wanted. I would have to act a certain way. I played a lot of sports that I never really wanted to, just because society kind of wanted me to.
Organizations such as the Third Wave Foundation were formed, and the term intersectionality was created. Recognizing that the experiences of women of color, queer, and women of other marginalized groups are different from those of white, cisgender, and straight women.
When I first got interested in feminism, I noticed that I had one perspective, and that was a gay white woman's perspective. And then I got out into Vancouver and started to meet new people and realized that there are other feminists out there that had different perspectives, different experiences with intersectionality themselves. And having intersectionality, it creates a strength in the movement.
The fourth wave is marked by intersectionality and inclusivity, just as the third wave was. Although now it's heavily influenced by the rise of digital technology and social media platforms. The movement is decentralized, leaderless, diverse, and on a large scale. This open structure gives women from all around the world a chance to be heard. As feminism looks deeper into society's expectations of women, we now recognize that some things aren't normal. They've been normalized. There's a difference. Today, women are challenging society's expectations, especially when it comes to body positivity and self-acceptance. We are challenging societal norms that dictate how individuals should look and behave. For example, in the Western world, our collective idea of what makes someone pretty is almost always based on their proximity to being white, cisgendered, heterosexual, thin, neurotypical, and non-disabled. We live in a world that profits from our insecurities. Let's take body hair for an example. Society convinced women that our body hair is unhygienic or unattractive. As young girls, we learn to hate our bodies before we even had the chance to love them. Overall, life feels easier when we shave, and we don't have to explain ourselves when we do it. These are seeds planted in our minds by manipulative corporations to make us feel so insecure that we buy products that promise we will be more acceptable, more desirable. Various brands also price women's products much higher than men's products. Gender-based pricing is often referred to as the pink tax. Fourth wave feminism places an even stronger emphasis on intersectionality, with a focus on ensuring that marginalized voices are included and heard within the movement. Social media platforms provide a space for individuals from marginalized communities to share their stories and experiences, which can help raise awareness and understanding amongst a wider audience. The global distribution of resources and educational materials makes it easier to report and document events as they happen, which helps to keep intersectional issues publicly visible and can help mobilize people to take action. Many people believe that there is no longer a need for feminist movements, and that women are now given equal or near equal status in society. Unfortunately, the control over a woman's body is still vulnerable to political and religious lobby groups. Imagine if the government passed a law that stopped abortions at the source, by making every young man have a vasectomy that gets reversed when he's deemed financially and emotionally fit to be a father. What's that? Did the idea of regulating a man's body make you uncomfortable? Then mind your business. In the fourth wave of feminism, reproductive rights, access to abortion, and birth control are still hard to obtain, and it just got even more difficult. The US Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade on June 24, 2022. By overturning Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court erased safe and legal abortions that was a federal constitutional right nationwide for nearly 50 years. They took away women's power to make personal medical decisions, and they gave that power to lawmakers. You can't ban abortion, you can only ban safe abortions. An estimated 25 million unsafe abortions occur each year worldwide. Now, this study was from 2017. Keep in mind, that was way before Roe v. Wade was overturned. Globally, women are still treated as second-class citizens. Women still exist in social, religious, economic, and politically oppressive spheres that deeply shape their choices. In Afghanistan, the Taliban has ordered public and private universities to ban women from their institutions. In Iran, protests erupted in response to Iran's inhumane and discriminatory morality police, who enforce the country's mandatory dress code.
If you do not comply to any of these rules, you will be punished, and it can range from imprisonment to actually being fined, or even in worst case scenario, it will be death, such as the case of Mahsa Amini. And with this woman-led revolution in Iran, it's really hard that women have to do that on their own. But with this, with the international awareness with all over the world, we have been able to engage the government officials everywhere, and this has helped us actually get to some places so far.
With a long history of discrimination, it's important to remember why feminism was needed in the first place. The ongoing movement will continue to adapt and evolve to address the changing needs of society and address new forms of oppression that emerge. Feminism as a whole is working towards creating a more just and equal society for us all. And that's a goal most women and men want to support. Don't you?
Well, we have a lot to talk about. Leading Ladies is thrilled to bring to you this panel of extraordinary women. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Anna Rossi. Who you might recognize from TV. She began on MasterChef USA and now hosts The Chef's Pantry and The Hub Today on NBC. Anna brings an authentic connection to food, travel, and the art of gathering to viewers. She's a food writer and decorated home cook with original recipes featured around the country. So now I will turn things over to Anna, who will introduce our guests.
Thank you, Therese. Thank you. I feel like I really rolled my sleeves up watching that film. Also, it's very exciting to see what a multi-generational span we have in the audience. I think it speaks to the relevance of evenings like this. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our incredible panel. Here we have attorney Sarah Stanley. She is executive director at HAWK, Healing Abuse, Working for Change. And Army National Guard veteran Nicole McLean, Lynn Counselor at Large. Extraordinary women are multi-hyphenated. So in a conversation like this, bringing experience as wives, mothers, community advocates, and activists, I think makes a panel like this exciting. And the hope here is to give us as community a sense of where things are locally as well as nationally, where there have been great wins, where there is concern, and also things that we can do starting right here tonight. As I know, as you've walked in, you've seen our incredible community partners welcoming us as we come into the room. So hopefully you felt a little fire and then have a sense of where to put that. With right, we need that application. Also, both Sarah and Nicole are commissioners from the Essex County Commission on the Status of Women. So that, I think, is a great place to start, because that's a mouthful, and I think very important because the work is so big and how it infiltrates our immediate community. Nicole, do you want to explain a little bit about what the Commission of the Status of Women is and the work that you're doing?
Sure. First, I would like to just point out we do have some commissioners here today with us. So we have Brianna Sullivan in the back over there, and I see Geetha as well. I believe Kristen Alexander is here, and possibly Maeva Mayer as well, if you want to raise your hand if you're in the audience.
Listen, you can't be shy. That's not the point of tonight.
Some of our commissioners are here supporting, so thank you for coming. So the Essex County Commission on the Status of Women is here to advance the women of Essex County towards full equality in all areas of life and to promote women's rights and responsibilities. The mandate behind its creation was to study, review, and report on the status of women in Essex County and to provide a permanent, effective voice to advance the status of these women to full equality of all areas of life. The goal of ECCSW is to uplift the voices of diverse women of Essex County and advocate for the health, safety, well-being, and economic advancement of women through community outreach, legislative advocacy, community hearings, and community education. So we value equity, inclusion, and leadership of women and girls in all areas of their lives.
Should we start with some accomplishments with where things sit right now on a local level? Do you want to, let's start on a positive note because we want some.
We're a little mad right now. We're a little mad. You know, a lot of great things have happened. Do we want to start national and go down to local? Sure. Yeah. You know, nationally, we've seen, in particular, parity in regards to education improving. Now, in medical school, law school, the number of women enrolled exceeds the number of men enrolled. So, you know, we see this great progress in women accessing both undergrad, you know, all forms of education. Likewise, we've seen an increase in the number of women entering the workforce. In the 1950s, it was in the low 30s. You know, today we're up around 47%. We can talk more about how that is stagnating now, but those are two really great points of progress nationally.
I think we can also mention some pay equity wins. I mean, they mentioned in that film that it was 60%, I believe, in years past. And now we're up to about 80% for white women, 50 cents per dollar for black women and women of color. So, I mean, it's increasing. We're getting somewhere, but we're definitely not where we need to be.
And that's something that the commission also is focused on, is the research to sort of comb out on a county level where that stands.
Yeah, we do a lot of surveys. Just recently, we had a survey go out a couple of years back that we wanted to hear from the women in Essex County of what kind of hardships they were going through. So the Massachusetts Commission also does the same type of outreach to hear from the women in their cities, in their towns, and know what they're going through. So they got a lot of great data from that, knowing that women are facing issues with child care costs, they're facing issues with housing, and struggling on housing. And you know, this helps us to inform our legislative goals and how to approach our legislation to, you know, make sure we're advocating for what women need in Essex County.
Right, so, and awareness is so important because, you know, we see some really great things. In the state of Massachusetts, we have our first governor and lieutenant governor team in Kim Driscoll and Maura Haley. You know, fantastic. We have our AG, you know, amazing group of women in leadership in Massachusetts. So we're making tremendous progress. But at the commission, we want to make sure that we're still shining a light on the realities for a lot of women, particularly women of color, the discrimination that is still happening on a local level.
Yeah, yeah. Nicole, I know you bring so much of your personal experience into the work that you do. Can you talk a little bit about your wins?
Oh, sure. So I live in the city of Lynn, and just recently, well, I was just recently sworn in as the first black woman to become a counselor at large in the city. For the city of Lynn, and having someone at the table that is willing to speak up and willing to talk about things like housing and willing to talk about disparities that are happening between rich and poor, and just people in general needing assistance and needing help, and bringing that voice to the table is so important because it's been really silenced and not paid much attention to in our city. So I'm honored to be the first black woman to bring that voice to the table. So that's one of my wins. I'll also add that I'm the founder and president of North Shore Juneteenth Association. It's an organization that highlights the positive images of Black American culture. And this organization came about because of an incident between my son and the Lynn Police Department. So he was coming home from school one day and he was hazed by them. Thrown to the ground, a knee in his back, and he was disheveled. This was his first encounter with the police. He's never had any run-in with the police before that. He was 16 at the time. So because I wanted to bring Juneteenth to the city, that was the first goal. But then after this happened with my child, the goal became to educate our community about the positive images and respect that Black Americans deserve in the North Shore and across the country, really. So that's what it all is.
And there's some important things on the calendar with that coming up in.
Yes, we have some events coming up. Hopefully you'll check us out. We're at nsjuneteenth.com. That's our website. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We have our Black Excellence 5K coming up, where you can see local Black excellence that's been awarded this year, and also little known and well-known historical figures as you run or walk the race. And we also have our Hats and Heels Tea event that's going to be happening in Salem, Massachusetts. So please check out our website, check us out on Facebook and Instagram so you can learn more about those events and support us, definitely.
You do not want to miss Hats and Heels. It is so much fun.
And another thing with the commission, tell us a little bit about the Ginsburg Initiative. I feel like it relates to the audience here in cultivating the next wave.
Sarah, you can take that.
So we're so proud the Essex County Commission took a lesson from our Massachusetts Commission and initiated an initiative for young women and to help them learn how to be an advocate and to kind of build their muscles of civic leadership. So we are so pleased. We're now in our second year. We've recruited a cohort of young women, high school, I think they did mainly high schoolers, who will do a variety of things. You know, they're reading books together, they're joining the commission for meetings and having advocacy projects. Currently, they have done a survey on student mental health, and they're presenting the results of those surveys to the adults in their communities. So it's a great way for young women to start becoming the civic activists that we need.
Yeah, that's amazing. Are they from all different school districts?
Yeah, but we are pretty intentional about trying to recruit from across all of Essex County.
Yeah, that's really exciting. What an opportunity. And I'm sure the learning is mutual too.
Absolutely. I think we were just questioning, right before this, we were gathered and we were asking some questions like, is this word still cool? No. So yes, the learning goes both ways.
Right, wordsmithing can be cooperative, right? Speaking of young ladies and the colors that we wear, the pink tax, can we talk a little bit about some of the even just subtle injustices and how they trickle into things? I don't know who.
Yeah. Okay, so the pink tax is basically speaking to the, I want to say exorbitant amount of money women are charged over a lifetime just for basic necessities such as razors or lotions or soaps. Women already, as we just learned, we earn less than men do. And then we're charged more for our basic necessities. And that's what the pink tax is really speaking toward. Over our lifetime, we're spending thousands more on products that are marketed to us. And Sarah, if you want to.
Yeah, so, my deodorant, my husband's deodorant, I'm being charged on average 13% more for my deodorant. So if we put this, as Nicole said, over an entire lifetime, this is thousands of dollars. This was actually something I learned in preparation for tonight. We've actually had an anti-pink tax bill that has been filed with Congress since 2016, and it hasn't been acted on. So pending in Congress, right? So, as of everything tonight, we want to pair with like this little bit of outrage, like this just isn't right with what we can do. Let's write some letters about getting this bill passed so that it will become illegal to intentionally charge more for products marketed to women.
Even the United Nations has called on countries to eliminate it. So, I mean, why aren't we listening to the United Nations? So I think that we really do need to speak up and start, paying attention to things like this and making a change.
I don't know if the audience was aware of the 2016 bill. I didn't know.
Now we know.
And I think your work is, for having such a light, effervescent disposition, the work that you're doing daily is really heavy work. But can you speak a little bit to violence with women?
Yeah. So the fact that women experience abuse and violence so pervasively, not only across the world, but in our country, in our county, is still the most obvious manifestation of inequality. We know, you heard the stats in the film, 1 in 4 women will experience violence in her lifetime. And that is something that is frequently hard for us to conceptualize, especially when we get down to the community level. And it's really important that we not only build our muscle to comprehend that, but then work across all of the variety of behaviors that we need to change to end that violence against women. And there's so many things that all of us, every single person here today, can do to interrupt and end violence against women. We can talk, I can talk a lot about that, but
Yeah, well, I don't know if anybody I was just listening on my commute today, Glennon Doyle's We Can Do Hard Things interview with, we can do hard things, with Dr. Christine Lacey Ford and the Kavanaugh Senate hearing, and her memoir just came out, One Way Back. So there's been a lot. She's been on Fresh Air. She's been doing the whole podcast circuit. But one of the things that in that discussion with Glennon Doyle, they're talking about them and not having a place when there has been an injustice to take it that will do right by the person who has experienced that. So I think I would love personally to know your thoughts on what to do with those statistics, and I feel like there's a lot on a micro level that's very possible that can happen at the dinner table, even as families, but
absolutely.
Please.
So, on a big level, we need to think about supporting women who have experienced violence, right? My colleagues from HAWK are here, Healing Abuse, Working for Change. We are supporting people every single day to get them the tools and resources they need to live their lives and become safer. So, supporting organizations like HAWK, the incredible people that do that work, is really important.
Can I interrupt? How can we?
Ooh, if you'd like to go for a pleasant stroll on June 9th and join the Walk for HAWK, that's a great way. All of us can go out and in a show of community, show that we stand with survivors, that we're anti-violence, we're pro-equity. So come to the Walk for HAWK on June 9th. There's so many other ways we're recruiting for community ambassadors right now, which is a really great way to flex not only your volunteerism, but also your leadership abilities. So
what does that role look like?
Yeah, you could, with a little bit of training, start being a representative in your community to make sure folks know about HAWK and the other resources that are available for someone when they've experienced abuse. So it's a great role.
And is the Walk family center?
Absolutely. Yeah. We have a pet parade. I mean, it doesn't get much cuter. Yeah. Everybody. But you mentioned the kitchen table.
Yeah.
It's so important that every single one of us can interrupt the stereotypical jokes, anything from women don't have a good sense of direction, to boys will be boys. Both sides of those stereotypes are really important to start breaking down. My kids, Jack and Avery, are in the audience, and they know, when we're watching a show, we'll point out, why is all these laundry detergent commercials featuring women? Right? How come we aren't seeing a dad changing the baby's diaper in this commercial? Those things that we can point out and raise awareness about, and we start fighting back on some of those stereotypes.
Right, because we talk like in terms of definition, toxic masculinity versus healthy masculinity. And are those examples of helping to tease apart some of those
Absolutely. How many times have you heard "Don't be a sissy" shouted on a sports field? That's really sad. That's really sad that we put that pressure on our young men, and that takes all of us to fight against that. And likewise, to foster that really positive notion of what manhood can be. I know, we all have examples of wonderful men in our lives that show, and all the allies that are here tonight. We really appreciate you.
Definitely. My son just had a child, so he's a new dad, and he's doing such a great job seeing him changing diapers, seeing him sweeping the floor, and doing all the things that, sharing the role of caregiver is important, and teaching your child to make sure that you're not taking on all of that caregiver role just because you're a woman. is really important. So we need to make sure we're teaching our sons how to be caregivers.
With that, can you share a little bit of your thoughts around time poverty?
That's a real thing. How many women were struggling to get out of the house tonight because you were trying to do 7 things for your house, right? I know it. Right, so time poverty refers to the fact that, okay, so 47% of us are in the workforce, but women still do the majority of the unpaid domestic work and caregiving, not only here, but across the world. And so that has very real repercussions when you look at it, when it's scaled across all of our society, that women perpetually have less time to dedicate to growing a business or, pursuing leadership opportunities. How many times have you thought about, oh, I would really like to maybe sit on my, town select board, but I just don't have time. And that's that comment there is where we need to start pushing back on that time poverty and equaling out household duties.
I really think that we need to take the guilt out of it too, because I feel like a lot of women feel guilty that their house isn't clean, or they're guilty because they didn't cook for their husband, or they didn't cook for the kids. They feel a lot of guilt around not doing those caregiver roles that's been beating into our heads that we should be always doing, and we should be always taken care of, and that we have to be everything for everyone all the time. There's no way we can do that. So I mean, if you're married, if you have children that are older and can cook for themselves, let them do that and don't feel guilty that they're doing it. Let your husband come home and say, oh, well, did you cook anything? And say no, because I had a paper to write. Or I had something to do that I couldn't do that. So go ahead and, figure out what you're gonna do, and don't feel guilty. Like, let them do it, because they're humans just like you're humans, and we have to, own our time. We have a lot of things that we do every single day. And on top of that, we also do laundry and sweep and cook and feel guilty when we don't. So I'm giving you permission today to be selfish.
But that plays into the risk of, I'll take it. I'm taking your permission.
Right.
Come with me. And then the ripple, right, is the concern of us bearing that load and then withdrawing from the workforce where we've been making strides.
Right. So during the pandemic, we saw a lot of women dropping out of the workforce because we were, a lot of times women were the ones taking care of kids who were trying to do remote learning. And now we see it, women drop out of the workforce because childcare is too expensive. They drop out of the workforce or reduce their work hours because they're caring for older parents and older adults in their lives. So when we take on this extra caregiving, that is directly impacting our economic independence. And we know that economic independence is how we can flourish.
Yeah. So there have been some recent legislation that have had positive effects for women. Nicole, do you want to walk us through some of the things that we're seeing?
Well, we spoke about Roe versus Wade and how it was reversed on the federal level, but I'm proud to say in Massachusetts we have, been able to guard some of our rights, and women are coming to Massachusetts to exercise their right to have an abortion. So abortions in Massachusetts are safe. So I think that we should applaud that.
We have I Am Bill. We talked a little bit about that.
There we go. We also have the One Fair Wage as well, where people can actually talk about what they're making. You have to request it, but you can request to hear from your boss or wherever you work, as long as they have 25 or more employees. You can ask them, what are they paying other people, and they have to divulge that information so that you can get.
Really?
Yes. So that
this is pending. If you like this idea, you need to support this bill.
Yes,
okay?
Support the bill. Support the bill. It is House 1617 and Senate 1082. Mass.gov, go to it. But this is a very important bill so that we can make sure we're increasing that pay gap and we're getting paid what we deserve as women. So definitely look into that and make sure you're paying attention to that bill. You guys wanted to speak about the IEM bill about period poverty, so you want to talk about that.
So, you know, women menstruate, or most women menstruate, and it's expensive to buy all the things we need for that. There's a bill that is pending. It passed the Senate unanimously. Now it is in committee. It's called the IEM bill, and it would mandate free period products in schools, prisons, and shelters. I mean, to think that, you know, not only, you know, let's take a student has to deal with, you know, all the additional things that come with menstruating, and the, you know, the pressure and you're not feeling well, and then to be worried about, my family doesn't have the money to buy these products.
And I'm going to say City Hall in Lynn actually already has a free dispensary there. Some buildings are already getting these free little boxes where you can just get your menstrual products out of for free. So it's already happening right as we speak today. So I'm happy to see that today in my City Hall.
That's great.
All right, so we'll also talk about the Common Start bill that's speaking to early education and the need for that to be less expensive and to be more expansive for early educators as well. So this bill is going to help with the cost of early education, and it's also going to help with the pay that early educators receive. So definitely push
So again, these are bills that are pending. They're not in place yet. So there's a real role for legislative advocacy. That can be intimidating sometimes. You're like, what does that mean? I don't know. You know, it's really easy if you jump on a website like Mass Now. They keep, you know, a list of legislation that will empower women, and you know, you can link right to Find My Representative, and you can email them, you can call them, you can write a letter. Having the voices of the constituents saying we want this, we need this, is really powerful, and I think any elected official would tell you that your voice is really important.
And when we were having this conversation, we did mention that some people just won't want to contact their legislation. You won't want to reach out to a senator or a representative. And if you don't want to do things like that, there's things going on in your local community that you can take part in. I know that we create period packs around school time as North Shore Juneteenth Association. We pass out backpacks. In our backpacks, we make sure we have period packs for girls, and we make sure we give them out for free. I mean, you can come and volunteer for anyone that's doing something like that, creating period packs, or you can look and find out what Hawk is doing as far as
period packs and donate menstrual products to Hawk's Emergency Shelter. It's a great way to
So, I mean, do it in your own way, but definitely do something if you don't want to reach out to a representative.
Well, I think that's a great reminder when you think of giving to the community time, treasure, talent, also life and point. I think it came up because, like, you know, as maybe you're a new mom and you're feeling in the weeds, trying to just keep your hands on the wheel, and thinking about where you're at in your life point. Maybe it's more time, maybe it's just showing up and being present and finding the right fit. And that's, I think, in an evening like this, when we have the community partners up front too, where you get that touchstone of what the opportunities are, is beautiful. Also, like, just diving in a little bit deeper to some of those other sort of layers of building a path forward. I love the idea of like mentorship and coaching. Do you have insight into connection? Like I know, like for me with having a 9-year-old daughter, I'm sort of thinking about, you know, talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think when we were talking about tonight, the main thing we didn't want anyone especially a woman, to walk out of here and being like, oh my God, now I feel even more guilty for not doing more, right? I know some of you, that's what you're thinking right now. Like, oh my God, I already do so much. And like, I guess now I have to figure out how to save us from ruin. Oh no, remember that, like, if you're in a stage of your life where like your time is really, valuable and it's dedicated to some other, your family, taking care of yourself is that radical act that you might need to focus on. I know for me, when I hit a breaking point and needed to ask other women in my life for help, that's when I started to create my sisterhood. And some of them are here tonight. I love you. But not being afraid to say that we need help is an amazing way to empower women. When we're all pretending like, I got it, that actually hurts women's empowerment. So I think that change can be really important for us collectively.
It's really important for us to share our stories. If you're going through something, don't think that you're the only one going through it, and don't be ashamed that you're going through it. Say something to someone that's close to you. Use your close friends, use your family. And when it comes to mentorship, I think there's definitely programming in Lynn that I know of. I know there's Girls Inc. that offers mentorship, and I believe also the YMCA has a mentorship program as well. So, I mean, these are, again, don't add anything to your plate that you cannot attain. If you cannot do it, then you just can't. But if you can, and you do have the time, and you feel like you're able to reach out to these organizations to find out more about becoming a mentor, then do so. Definitely, they could definitely use you.
Big Sister is another great organization.
Yeah.
And any young woman that you have in your life,
show that she has a daughter,
right? Show, don't be afraid to share your experience with them, whatever that might be. Maybe you're a great cook. Maybe anything that can help enrich that young person's life so that they can be more confident going forward.
And also in terms of local economy, I know the power of the purse is so important. Shopping locally, women-owned businesses. Are there good resources for learning about where and who those are? And even just a simple follow on social can be so huge.
We have a great partner out back, the Thrive Initiative at the North Shore Chamber of Commerce. There's Shara. That is a great way to get in touch with women-owned businesses. And if you are a woman entrepreneur or a woman business owner, get involved with Thrive. Thrive's goal is to help women in every stage of growing their business, their professional life. So get into community, increase your skills. That's a great place. And I know there's some great lists of local businesses.
We have a list at North Shore Juneteenth Association of local Black-owned businesses. So if you want to check that out, that's nsjuneteenthagain.com. There's also listings on the North Shore Women in Business that you can follow them actually on Facebook, and that's a whole women's group. And they're actually having something in May, something like this, on a little bit of a bigger scale, like a workshop that you could probably take advantage of. So North Shore Women in Business, I would definitely check them out as well.
Well, that brings me to questions. It's perfect timing. Is there anything else that Sarah or Nicole you would like to add before we open it up to the room? If there are questions or...
I would say, I'm going to give a shout out to Kim Driscoll. She said something at a Thrive event that I attended that has stayed with me. And we were talking about women in leadership, and she tells a great story about why she got involved, and there were problems in her community of Salem that she wanted to see fixed. And my question to her was, so many of us have that imposter syndrome. There must be someone else that knows more than me, so I'm probably not the right person for it. And she said, there is no one else coming to fix these problems in our community. You, the person who cares, is the person. And she said, we are the cavalry that is coming to save us. And I said, yes. So anyone who's thinking like, I see issues in my community, why not you? Why not you to be that person to step up and start to lead change? There's training, there's mentorship. Let's figure out a way to equip ourselves so that we can be the leaders that make those changes.
Love it. Well, great. So this is a safe space. We love the Cabot, warm walls, and welcome questions, comments, anything for Sarah or Nicole. We have a microphone that we can toss around, and don't be shy.
Anyone?
Maybe everyone feels like they have their to-do list all set.
Hi, that was just such an excellent program completely from start to finish, including the movie. I'm wondering if the movie is available for showing it at other opportunities that would be appropriate.
There's Therese. Does Therese want to? Yes, it is.
Judy, where did you find that film? Judy?
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. War on Women.
Any other questions?
Maybe while someone's thinking about whether they have a question. I will say, if you have young people in your life and you're like, wow, I want to make sure my kids get involved, in anti-violence work, Hawk is planning an anti-violence youth summit and rally that will coincide with our Walk for Hawk. So if you are a teacher or you otherwise work with kids or you have young people in your life and you're like, wow, this might be something they'd be interested in, please pick up a flyer in the back.
Thank you to all three of you. My question is, I understand that technically speaking, bringing the wage gap closer from 60 cents on the dollar in 1960 to 79 cents in 2024 is considered progress. But if I remember correctly, in 1977, it was already at 76 cents per the man's dollar. So in my estimation, that's disgraceful. I understand that I can go onto a government website, as you suggested, and watch those two bills that you mentioned, but is there anything more concrete and more doable that I and perhaps we can do? Because in addition to the pink tax, I don't pay any less for anything, for rent, for auto insurance, for my groceries, than a man near me does. So I think that's something that would be really worthwhile for me to invest some time in, but I don't know how to go about it. Thank you.
I know I can share, one thing that if you are involved with a company, posting your salaries on your job postings, that increases transparency on what those, what that salary, will be considered for. That little bit of transparency goes a long way to making sure that someone isn't going to get lowballed. And, I think, so
I would say definitely, I'm not sure if you're still in the workforce, but if you are, I would say negotiating your salary is also something that you should do. I mean, go into your HR or talk to your boss and negotiate why you're getting paid less or what needs to be done for you to be paid more. I mean, I think women do not do that. Even if you are, a lot of women don't do that. If you're going for a job, women sometimes don't speak up and say, this is what I'm worth and this is what I deserve to be paid. And I think that being more strong-willed and more vocal will definitely also help in that area. But I'm going to say, fighting for that one wage bill is also something that we should definitely be doing as a collective, because doing it by yourself is never going to work out. We have to do it together.
Great question.
You know, I am so grateful that you are a part of our lives. I just wanted you to talk, Nicole, a little bit about what things you've done as a city councilor, what things have you accomplished, and what are you looking to accomplish? What are the issues in our city that you're trying to work on?
Some of the things that I've already been working on is mentoring our youth. I created a group that's called the Council on Adolescence, where we brought young people into the City Hall to talk more about how we can better serve our young people and our adolescents in the city of Lynn. In the recent months past, in 2023, we had a lot of violence in our city, but of course I was speaking to this before any of that violence happened. As soon as I got into this seat in April of 2023, I wanted to create this council. And I went straight to the president of the council to start getting this going. I think it's very important for our youth to have a voice in our city and to be able to talk about what they need as far as services go. And we're getting that they need jobs. We're getting that they need better programming and enrichment activities. So these are some things that we can start tackling in our city. I've also been sitting with Andrew DeFranza from Harbor Light to talk about improving the affordable housing and how much affordable housing is available in our city. So those are some of the meetings that I've had. I've also reached out to our veteran community and make sure our veterans, being a veteran myself, that we have more services and that veterans are being reached as far as those resources go. A lot of the veterans in Lynn don't even know about the resources that are available in our city. So these are some of the things that I've been working on, and what I want to look forward to doing in helping our city is to bring our arts community in our downtown area is so disheveled and just not walkable, not beautiful, not somewhere anybody really wants to go. So I really have been reaching out to find funding so that we can fix our downtown and make it a more welcoming place. That's something that I really want to focus on.
And this is why there should be women in leadership, right? We've seen, research across the world has shown that when women are involved in leadership, that community is a better steward of their natural resources. Their economies are stronger. Their societies are stronger. So, right there.
Thank you for your time tonight. Affordable housing is a real challenge right now, and I'm particularly interested in learning what is happening here in the North Shore area and/or how we can become engaged, especially recognizing that women don't make as much as men and housing is so expensive these days.
I'm sorry you missed the leading ladies' last community conversation on this topic. There are a couple different things you can do. One, in your community, go to the next city council meeting or, town meeting where they're talking about the next housing project that needs approval. So many projects are being stopped at the local level because the few people that don't want those projects are the ones coming to the meetings. So just showing up to your city council meetings, your zoning board meetings, and being a concerned member of the public to say that you're in favor of this is impactful. And if you would like to get involved with zoning board or anything like that, come talk to me.
I would definitely say that there's another bill, but people are trying to make sure that rent is capped at a certain level. So, I mean, where people are fighting for that, I've gone to the State House myself with Neighbor to Neighbor as an organization In Lynn, that's always fighting for affordable housing. And we also have another one called Lynn United for Change. These are community organizations that focus on making sure renters and homeowners can stay in their homes when bills are just, when rent is just being, it's astronomical right now. So I would definitely look into making sure you're advocating for that cap on rent that's being fought for right now.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be here. I have a kind of a comment and maybe a question on your perspective. I feel like for folks who have a leadership role, we have an opportunity to kind of shift what's been the norms of like the workplace. And I think, for folks who have those positions, whether it's at work or with a business, or if you're on a town committee or the PTA, to keep speaking up and saying like, does this structure and infrastructure work for everyone, or is it just how we've done business all the time, right? Like 9 to 5 doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for most parents. And so if we're having more of those conversations about like, how do we change what we thought is normal? Maybe more people can come to PTA meetings and more people can join town committees. If we're allowed to bring our kids with us, if we're allowed to not have meetings at the same time we're at work. That's my little rant. But from where you guys sit, I think you get to see successful businesses and successful leadership. Like, are there things you see coming? Like, because I feel like we're seeing it, we're feeling it. People are pushing back at work and in places for different structures. Are you seeing some change, please?
In my world, yes, I am seeing some change. I see people bringing their children to work, even in City Hall. Yesterday, one of the women had her son with her walking down the hallway. So, I mean, it's happening. People are starting to get more understanding that people are parents. People have a lot of things going on in their lives in the caregiving world. If you have adult parents that are aging and they need your assistance, they need your time more. I mean, people need to just understand people have lives outside of this job. And I think that is starting to work out. And I think it's because of COVID happening and being able to do more things remotely at home that people are seeing, like, we don't need to have you come into work to do this job. So I'm happy with that part of that consequence of COVID, because people are seeing that it's just not necessary to be in a place at a certain amount of time for a certain time period. So I think that was an improvement, definitely.
And I think having women in leadership positions is so important, because guess what? If you maybe never had the experience of breastfeeding, maybe you don't think that, I just scheduled this 2-hour meeting with my coworker who is breastfeeding and needs to pump in the middle of this 2-hour meeting. There are just certain little accommodations, I barely call it an accommodation, biological needs we have, that the workplace needs to be more friendly around. And I think women in leadership who have that broader, and everyone, intersectional identities, when we have more folks with diverse backgrounds in leadership, they can be more attentive to all those needs.
Hello, love you both so much. I just wanted to ask you, being women in positions of power and in these places that are so important for you to be, our world in a lot of ways is dominated by men, and so I'm sure that you both have had many circumstances where you're bumping up against people that aren't taking you serious or talking over you, and the list goes on. How do you deal with those moments, and how do you take care of yourself?
All right, yeah, so definitely being a new counselor at large, I've already had a a hard vote that I had to take that a lot of people weren't in agreement with me about. So I've had people pull me to the side and say, I need you to do this and I need you to vote this way, and if you don't vote this way, this, the whole world's going to end. Like really trying to pressure me to go, the way that they want me to go. So what I do to set a standard and a boundary is I do what I want to do. And I tell them I'm going to do that. So I think that is the most important thing that we can do is just make sure we're standing on what we believe. And even if they are pressuring, even if they are being condescending, in the end, I'm going to do what's best for me, and whether you appreciate that or not, but it's going to happen, and I think that that's the standard that we need to set.
Teach that to the Congress.
But Nicole, how do you, that's not easy.
It's
like,
not.
how do you, like, just from like literally, like, do you go for, like, how do you restore yourself after fighting that battle?
I talk a lot of junk at home. It really helps me. Like, I believe so-and-so did this, and going on and on and on. I talk to like 50 people after I have to say, look, you know what I mean? Get out of my face. This is what's happening. And then I'm like, do you believe?
And I'll share just an anecdote from my life. I coach my daughter's basketball team. And this year, the parent who coached with me was a man. And you know how many times the other coach of the other team walked up to him? They assumed I was probably handing out orange slices. And that's a little thing, but that eroded my confidence day after day. Like, maybe I shouldn't be the head coach. And so I'm sure all of you are experiencing those little erosions of your confidence when you do try to step forward. And I would just say, know that it's important. It's really important for young women and young men, grown men and grown women, to see you step up and say, no, I'm capable of doing this. Even if you're not quite sure of that, have people around you that reinforce that, yes, you are capable.
Do we have any other questions? Yes.
Hello.
Now you see who it is.
Thank you so much for doing this tonight. I've had the pleasure and honor of collaborating with both of you on some projects. I have an observation and then a follow-up question. My observation is that one of the reasons that the rights of your body have been so curtailed is that there was no actual collective. There was a segment of the population who thought those rights were safe, not realizing that women of color were being forcibly sterilized as recently as 2019 in this country. So my question is, with the eye of intersectionality, what advice do you have for people to strengthen that focus and to build that intersectionality?
I would say to acknowledge historical wrongs. That's what starts first, right? If you know you're an organization like Leading Ladies, if you know you're an organization like League of Women Voters, all these organizations that have been around for a very long time that were segregated and did have that connotation of, people of color are not welcome here or don't have a voice. They can come, but they can't say anything. If you know that that's been the historical issue, and you need to face that, and then you need to say, you're welcome here, and I want to empower you. You have to push those voices forward, and also welcome them and make them feel at home and, heard, seen, acknowledged, because, the color blindness thing is not going to work out. These things have already happened to people of color, and because they were people of color, these things happen. So we can't do color blindness. What we can do is acknowledge historical wrongs and then repair them, heal, and move forward together, really together, genuinely.
would just say, very practically speaking, if you're working on anything, you should be working in coalition. If you aren't working in coalition, you're probably missing something.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Yes, up top.
Hi, thank you for doing this program. It was really insightful. So I'm 16, and I feel sometimes really just downbeat by everything that's happening in the world, and just really exhausted with just how things are going. I'm part of a women's forum at my high school, and are there ways for me to empower myself and my fellow students to help make changes? Because I think it's a feeling amongst a lot of people my age, just this feeling of exhaustion. So yeah, are there any ways to help us empower ourselves?
Oh, first of all, I just want to give you a big hug. Thank you for your question. Thank you for being here. Oh, so many things. One, it's a real thing. We got to acknowledge that we are living in difficult times, scary times, and there are paths forward. So one, find ways and people that continue to help you have hope. And breaking down the little things that we can do. That's what all of us can do, right? When we look at these issues on a big scale, it can be overwhelming, and you just feel mad, and then you're so mad you have to space out and look at, TikTok for an hour. If we find ways to say, okay, what's the little thing I can do and have some success, that kind of builds a little bit of momentum. But remembering to rest too. I think that's really important. Nicole?
Yeah, I'm hearing tired. It really is sad to hear that from someone who is 16 years old, that they're exhausted, mentally. So I feel, first, really acknowledge that. If you're tired, really take some time for yourself. And I heard you say you have peers, so, cultivate that. Really take advantage of having those people around you that you can talk to and lean on. And, form that group. That way you guys can just be tired together. Sit, rest, eat some snacks. I mean, not too many. And just really just chit chat with each other. Don't have it be so heavy. Nothing heavy, just something, where you guys can all hang out and enjoy each other's company and rest in that, that safe space that you created. Create a safe space and rest there with your friends. I think that's where you should start. But of course, there's a lot of work to do, and just take it one step at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself, but definitely create that safe space with your friends and, and chill there for a little while so you can recuperate.
One of my favorite quotes is Edward Abbey, where there is no joy, there is no courage. So we got to foster that joy in ourselves first, and that gives us the courage to keep going.
Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. Also, a big thank you to Sarah and Nicole and Therese with Leading Ladies.
I want to thank our fabulous panel and the Cabot for partnering with us. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Please check out the tables on your way out and go out and do something great.